ॐ शुक्लाम्भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. लोकवीर्यं महापूज्यं सर्वरक्षाकरं विभुं पार्वतीहृदयानन्दं शास्तारं प्रणमाम्यहं। स्वामिये शरणमय्यप्पा। वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरनभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी द्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പീരേണ്ടാത്തോറും പ്രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ Krishna Hare Jaya Krishna Hare. Good morning, everyone. Priya, can you do 97 review? I think we did until 1 to 9, I believe. We have not done the 10th, I think. So,
ராஜேஷ் என்ன தானே கூப்பிட்டேன் இல்லையா?
உங்களை தான் கூப்பிட்டேன். ஆமா ஆமா,
தொடங்கட்டுமா?
தொடங்க. Yeah.
नारायणीय सप्तनवतितमं दशकम् उत्तम भक्ति प्रार्थना मार्कण्डेयोपाख्यानं च। त्रैगुण्याद् भिन्न रूपं भवति हि भुवने हीनमद्योतमं यत् ज्ञानं च कर्ता वसतिरपि सुखं कर्म चाहारभेदाः त्वक्षेत्रत्वन्निषेवादितु यदिह पुनस्त्वत्परं तत्तु सर्वं प्राहुर्नैगुण्यनिष्ठं तदनु भजनतो मंशु सिद्धो भवेयम् त्वय्येव न्यस्तचित्तः सुखमयि विचरन् सर्वचेष्टास्त्वदर्थं त्वद्भक्तिः सेव्यमानान् अपि चरितचरान् आश्रयन् पुण्यदेशान् तस्यौ विप्रे मृगादिष्वपि च सममतिः मुच्यमानावमाना स्पर्धा सूयादिदोषः सततमखिल भूतेषु सम्पूजये त्वाम् त्वद्भावो यावदेषु स्फुरति तावदेवं
Hyupastiam.
ह्युपास्तिं कुर्वन्नैकात्म्यबोधे झटिति विकसति त्वन्मयोऽहं चरेयम् त्वद्धर्मस्यास्य तावत् किमपि न भगवन् प्रस्तुतस्य प्रनाशः तस्मात् सर्वात्मनैव प्रदिश मम विभो भक्तिमार्गं मनोज्ञम् तं चैनं भक्तियोगं दृढयितुमयि मे साध्यमारोग्यमायुः दृष्ट्या तत्रापि सेव्यं तव चरणमहो भेषजा एव दुग्धम् मार्कण्डेयो हि पूर्वं गणकनिगदितद्वादशब्दायुरुच्चैः सेवित्वा वत्सरं त्वां तव बटनिवहैर्द्रावयामास मृत्युम्
Yeah, the third line la Dwadashabdhayuruchaihi. So, some one slightly different is it. Dwadashabdhayuruchaihi.
द्वादशाब्दायुरुच्चैः
Yeah, okay, correct.
मार्कण्डेयश्चिरायुः स खलु पुनरपि त्वत्परः पुष्पभद्रा तीरे निन्ये तपस्यन्नतुलसुकरतिः सुमन्वन्तराणि देवेन्द्र सप्तमस्तं सुरयुवतिमरुन्मन्मथैर्मोहयन् योगोष्मप्लुष्यमान् न तु पुनर्वचनं निर्जयित्वाय प्राप्तवानस्य पार्श्वं तुष्ट्या तोष्टूयमानः स तु विविधवरैर्लोभितो नानुमेने द्रष्टुं मायां त्वदीयां किल पुनरवृणोद्भक्तितृप्तान्तरात्मा माया दुःखानभिज्ञस्तदपि मृगयते नूनमाश्चर्यहेतोः या ते त्वय्याशु वाताकुलजलदगलतोयपूर्णात् सप्तार्णो राशिमग्ने जगति स तु जले सम्ब्रह्मन् वर्षकोटिः दीनः प्रैक्षिष्टदूरे वटदलशयनं कञ्चिदाश्चर्यबालम् न्यस्तपादाङ्गुलीकम् दृष्ट्वा त्वां हृष्टरोमा त्वरितमुपगतः स्प्रष्टुकामो मुनीन्द्रः श्वासेनान्तर्निविष्टः पुनरिह सकलं दृष्टवान् विष्टपौगम् भूयोऽपि श्वासवातैर्बहिरनुपतितो वीक्षितत्वत्कटाक्षैः मोदादाशेषु कामस्त्वयि मे प्राग्वदासीत् गौर्या सार्धं तदग्रे पुरभिदतगतः त्वत्प्रियप्रेक्षणार्थी सिद्धानेवास्य दत्त्वा स्वयमयमजरा मृत्युताधीन् गतोऽभूत् एवं त्वत्सेवयैव स्मररिपुरपि स प्रीयते येन तस्मात् मूर्तित्रयात्मकस्त्वं ननु सकलनियन् तेति सुव्यक्तमासीत्. कृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
Very nice. On the seventh stanza kapram, we normally say that kara ravindena pada ravind. So just make a note that I'll put the lyrics in the chat later. I mean the two lines. So we normally chant that after the seventh stanza. Okay, I forgot to say that last time. Okay, let's get going. I think we have to do the stanza 10 and then we'll do 98. Jyoti Chandanji, you can be student. Viji, you can be student. Okay, stanza 10. त्रिंशेऽस्मिन् सत्यलोके विधिहरिपुरभिन्मन्दिरान् यूर्ध्वमूर्ध्वं तेभ्योऽप्यूर्ध्वं तु माया विकृतिविरहितो भाति वैकुण्ठलोकः तत्र त्वं कारणाम्भस्यपि पशुपकुले शुद्धसत्त्वैकरूपी सच्चिद्ब्रह्माद्वयात्मा पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वरोगात्. So, like last time, we saw the Markandeya Charitra, which got over, right? So, towards the end, we saw how when Shiva and Parvati come, and then, Markandeya was in a trance after what he had actually witnessed. And then they tell him that, whatever he witnessed was kind of all an illusion. He experienced it, but actually, there was no pralayam that happened at that time, right? And it was just something that he experienced, which felt completely real. And anyway, and then they blessed Markandeya, right? With anyway, he had long life, but also long life with lot of devotion and all of that. So that comes to an end of Markandeya Charitra. So then Bhattacharya is wrapping up this Dasakam by saying that in this 14 worlds, the topmost world is the Satya Loka, right? Where there's with Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So each of them have a role to play. Like we discussed in the past, there should be no differentiation between that Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. It's the same energy which is doing different roles. Each one has a role to play, right? That's all. So in that Satya Loka, it's there. But your Bhati Vaikuntha Lokaha, but the Vaikuntham which is there, which is the permanent, which is outside of this Brahmandam, outside of these 14 worlds, because this entire 14 worlds comes to an end at the life of Brahma, right? It completely goes back and then it comes out again. So this Vaikuntha, 14 worlds are there, but outside of all of this is where you then reside as pure Brahman, as outside of this in Vaikuntham, where you are in that Vaikuntham, where you are the pure sattva form of yours, the pure consciousness. That's what we're going to see in 98, the Nirguna Brahman form of yours, which doesn't have any shape, which doesn't have any of that. You are there in that one as a pure thing, also as Pashupa Kule, along with, here he's again saying, even though you're in Vaikuntha, where you don't have any form or anything, you are there with the Gopas and the Gopikas, because that Pashupa Kule, they are always there with you. They are just an extensions of you. So you are there with them. So you, Guru Arpa, please eradicate all my ailments. Tremshesmin Satya Loke, Vidhi Hari Purabhin Mandiran Yurdhvam Urdhvam. So you can break it that ma there. Mandiran Yurdhvam Urdhvam, Tebhyo Pyurdhvam tu, Maya Vikriti Virahito Bhati Vaikuntha Lokaha. Trimshesmin Satyaloke Vidhi Haripurabhin Mandiran Yurdhvam Urdhvam Tebhyo Pyurdhvam tu Maya Vikriti Virahito Bhati Vaikuntha Lokaha.
त्र्यंशेऽस्मिन् सत्यलोके विधिहरिपुरभिन्मन्दिराण्यूर्ध्वमूर्ध्वं तेभ्योऽप्यूर्ध्वं तु माया विकृतिविरहितो भाति वैकुण्ठलोकः त्र्यंशेऽस्मिन् सत्यलोके विधिहरिपुरभिन्मन्दिराण्यूर्ध्वमूर्ध्वं तेभ्योऽप्यूर्ध्वं तु माया विकृतिविरहितो भाति वैकुण्ठलोकः
त्र्यंशेऽस्मिन् सत्यलोके विधिहरिपुरभिन्मन्दिरान् यूर्ध्वमूर्ध्वं तेभ्योऽप्यूर्ध्वं तु माया विकृतिविरहितो भाति वैकुण्ठलोकः त्र्यंशेऽस्मिन् सत्यलोके विधिहरिपुरबिन्मन्दिरान् यूर्ध्वमूर्ध्वं तेभ्योऽप्यूर्ध्वं तु माया विकृतिविरहितो भाति वैकुण्ठलोकः
तत्र त्वं कारणाम्भस्यपि पशुपकुले शुद्ध सत्वैक रूपी सच्चित् ब्रह्माद्वयात्मा again पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वरोगात् तत्र त्वं कारणाम्भस्यपि पशुपकुले शुद्ध सत्वैकरूपी सच्चित् ब्रह्माद्वयात्मा पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वरोगात्
तत्र त्वं कारणाम्भस्यपि पशुपकुले शुद्धसत्त्वैकरूपी सच्चिद्ब्रह्माद्वयात्मा पवनपुरपदे पाहि मां सर्वरोगात् तत्र त्वं कारणाम्भस्यपि पशुपकुले शुद्धसत्त्वैकरूपी सच्चिद्ब्रह्माद्वयात्मा पवनपुरपदे पाहि मां सर्वरोगात् कृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः।
तत्र त्वं कारणाम्भस्यपि पशुपकुले शुद्धसत्त्वैकरूपी सच्चिद्ब्रह्माद्वयात्मा पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वरोगात् तत्र त्वं कारणाम्भस्यपि पशुपकुले शुद्धसत्त्वैकरूपी सच्चिद्ब्रह्माद्वयात्मा पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वरोगात् श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः।
Dasakam 98 Nishkala Brahmopasana. So, like in any form of Bhagavan, there are two forms of Bhagavan. There's a Nishkala form and there's a Sakala form. The Sakala form is the form which we used to meditate on, which we see in all the photos that we have, the form that we see in all the temples, which means it has a form, right? There's some form, it has some color, it's got some gender, it has got some hands, some number of legs, all of that is there. This Nishkala means it doesn't have any form. So that is like the Brahman, the original Brahman doesn't have any form. It can take any form it wants, but doesn't have any form. So that Nishkala Brahma, so referring to the Brahman here, not the Brahma, right? The Nishkala Brahma Upasana. Upasana is meditation. So meditation on that Nishkala Brahman. So like for those of you, Devi Mahatmyam, we have the chapter 11 where you have the Namaskaram we do, or even the chapter 5 where the Namastasya, we do Namaskarams in the 5th chapter, right? Similarly, in Rudram also there is Namakam, 11th Namakam, we do Namaskarams for that. Similarly, this is also kind of like that, right? So there are like 10 stanzas here, 10, 11 stanzas here. So we normally do Namaskarams because each of that is saying Tasmai Namaste, Namaskarams to you. At the end of each of the stanza, there is a Namaskaram. So it talks about the quality of the Nishkala Brahma. That's what pretty much this chapter is, very abstract definition of the Nishkala Brahma. But at the end of every stanza, he'll say to that Krishna Namaskarams, right? That's how it'll always end, or to the Vishnu Namaskarams. So this is something you can chant every day, because it's just it's a meditation, dhyana slokam type of thing. Yasminnetadvibhatam yata idamabhavat yena chedam yayetat yosmat uttirna rupaha khalu sakalamidam bhasitam yasya bhasa yo vacham dura dure punarapi manasam yasya deva munindraha no vidyustatva rupam kimu punarapare Krishna tasmai namaste. So it talks about that Brahman as something which, like, same as the first stanza that we chanted, Sandra Nandava Bodhatmakam, same thing, saying that Brahman, which is the source, that is what, from which every single thing actually comes in, and everything exists in it as well. That also exists in everything, and everything exists in that as well. And finally, everything goes back to it. So that is, the primary four things that is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the first thing that Bhagavan says is, that's the first understanding that is there. It's difficult for us to understand, but if you understand it, 25% of the knowledge you need in this world, you got it, right? Which is everything comes from that, everything goes back into it. That Brahman is there in everything, and everything is there in that Brahman also. You have to truly grasp that, right? So, but however, we cannot see it, right? And then, so it says that when we look at certain things like the our earth, it has we are able to see earth because sun's light falls on earth. So that's why we are able to see earth. If there's no sun's light, we cannot see anything on earth, right? However, he says this Brahman is self, like, effulgence, right? So it doesn't require anything for it to be seen. It just exists. It can exist on its own. It does not depend on anything else. That is the main takeaway. It doesn't have anything else that it has to depend on. It can stand on its own. It doesn't have reliance on anything else. So all of these definitions of this Brahman, it says, yasya deva munindraha, it says even the demigods, even the greatest of sages cannot fully comprehend this Brahman. Just absolutely, and Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita also, nobody can fully understand me. So if anybody says they fully understand, that means they just don't know, they're ignorant of it, right? So nobody can fully understand this. So when that nobody can understand, how about then, how people like us, with a normal human mortals, there is no way we can truly understand what this Brahman is, right? So the best way here, Bhaktipad says, is to that Brahman which is always there, always self-pervading everywhere, which nobody can understand. But I am worshipping it as Krishna Tasmai Namaste. For me, you, O Krishna, is that Brahman. So I am doing namaskarams to you as Krishna, right? To the Brahman as Krishna. So that's the first starting off with the definition of that Brahman. And like our Dushyant Sridhar, he has in one of his things, he talks about the way to sometimes think of it like in mathematics is, if you don't know what it is, you define what it is not. So that's one way we do learn it in math. You define what it is not and say everything that it is not is that is left, right? And so here the one way of defining it is, it says jnanatvam, which is knowledge, right? So you all didn't know Narayaneeyam 2 years back. You know Narayaneeyam now, right? So which means your knowledge also keeps changing, right? So your knowledge changes over time. So this Brahman cannot be like that. Knowledge cannot keep increasing over time. It always has all the knowledge. That is number one, right? And you are here in a particular place here. I was in New York yesterday. I am in Chicago today. So my place is fixed at a point in time. So this Brahman cannot have it. It's always there everywhere. We are here today. We don't know whether we even will be there tomorrow, right? So we all have a starting point. We all have an ending point. The Brahman doesn't have a starting point and an ending point, right? And then it is always pure. Sometimes we have sattva qualities in us. Sometimes we have, negative qualities in us. The Brahman cannot have that. So he says, so the general definition according to the Upanishads is, you define everything that we have and say the Brahman cannot be any of that. It is beyond all of that. We all have karma. That's why we are here within the Brahman. And the Brahman cannot have any karma. So it is, you define what is known, and everything that is not yet defined, which is cannot be defined, is that Brahman, what is left over, because it cannot have our qualities, because it's beyond us, right? So yes.
Rajesh, just a quick comment. You
Yeah.
mentioned Dushyantji, Sridhar. I'm just listening to his Bhagavatam that he had done it in Lemon Temple a couple years ago.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's mentioning a lot of Narayaneeyam.
Yeah, because Narayan is simple way, right? Bhagavatam, when you talk, you can talk for years together, but when you condense it, then the essence is still here, right? That's why he was referring to. But yeah. Yeah. So I think one of his lectures, he talked about one way to understand God, right? And so he was explaining that. But anyway, Esmin etad vibhatam yata idham abhavat. So the dya that you have there, we're going to break it into ith and a ya. So yata idham abhavat, comma, ena chedam ya etat. So again, it comes at the end of that line, etat. Next line, dyo becomes yo. Yosmat उत्तीर्ण रूपः, कॉमा, खलु सकलमिदं भासितं यस्य भासा. यस्मिन् एतद् विभातं यत इदमभवत् येन चेदं ययेतत् योऽस्मात् उत्तीर्णरूपः खलु सकलमिदं भासितं यस्य भासा.
यस्मिन्नेतद्विभातं यत इदमभवत् येन चेदं य एतत् योऽस्मादुत्तीर्णरूपः खलु सकलमिदं भासितं यस्य भासा यस्मिन्नेतद्विभादं यत इदमभवत् येन चेदं य एतत् येन चेदं य एतत् योऽस्मादुत्तीर्णरूपः खलु सकलमिदं भासितं यस्य भासा
यस्मिन्नेतद्विभातं यत इदमभवदे येन चेदं यतादे योऽस्मादुत्तीर्णरूपः खलु सकलमिदं भासितं यस्य भाषा
Vijay,
यस्मिन्
the first and last word, yena chedam ya etat.
येन चेदं
Ya, 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 etat.
एतदे ओके एतदे
Etat,
सारी
it that just ends with it, etat.
एतद् ओके यस्मिन्नेतद्विभातं यत इदमभवदे येन चेदं यते यते
Ya, ya, etat.
य एतदे योऽस्मादुत्तीर्णरूपः खलु सकलमिदं भासितं यस्य भाषा
Yo vacham dura dure, comma, punarapi manasam yasya deva munindraha, comma, no vidyus tattva rupam kimu punarapare, comma, Krishna tasmai namaste. Yo vacham dura dure punarapi manasam yasya deva munindraha no vidyus tattva rupam kimu punarapare Krishna tasmai namaste.
यो वाचां दूरदूरे पुनरपि मनसां यस्य देवा मुनीन्द्राः नो विद्युस्तत्त्वरूपं किमु पुनरपरे कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते यो वाचां दूरदूरे पुनरपि मनसां यस्य देवा मुनीन्द्राः नो विद्युस्तत्त्वरूपं किमु पुनरपरे कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते
यो वाचां दूरदूरे पुनरपि मनसां यस्य देवा मुनीन्द्राः नो विद्युस्तत्त्वरूपं किमु पुनरपे कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते यो वाचां दूरदूरे पुनरपि मनसां यस्य देवा मुनीन्द्राः नो विद्युस्तत्त्वरूपं किमु पुनरपे कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते
Fourth line just before the comma, punarapare. Kimu punarapare.
तत्त्वरूपं किमु पुनरपरे
Punarapare. Answer to
थैंक यू
Janmato karma nama sphutamiha गुणदोषादिकं वा न यस्मिन् लोकानाम् ऊतये यः स्वयमनुभजते तानि मायानुसारी बिभ्रच्छक्तिररूपोऽपि च बहुतररूपो वभात्यद्भुतात्मा तस्मै कैवल्यधाम्ने पररसपरिपूर्णाय विष्णो नमस्ते. This is again continuing the definition of this Brahman, right? Saying for you, there is no concept of, for the Brahman, there is no concept of birth, which means there's nobody knows what the starting point is. There's no starting point. It is just a cycle. It never dies. There's no concept of death as well, right? And it doesn't actually have any name or it doesn't have any qualities. Like you cannot say this is good, this is bad, or any of those qualities because it is all of that exists in this world, because it is categorized, but for the Brahman, it is beyond all of that. So we cannot have any of those qualities. However, for maintaining this world, for doing this, you then take various forms. So you take the form of a male, like what we consider male, what we consider female. You take all those forms, you take various shapes, you have various names. All of that is just for the purpose of various purposes. But in reality, you do not have any name, you do not have any form, you do not have any gender, right? It is generally referred to as it. Tat. That's how it is generally referred to as, because you cannot say he or she or anything. We loosely use he and all that, right? So anyway, so now the how to understand this Brahman, he talks a little bit about and it's going to continue about a little bit about vidya and avidya, right? So like vidya is knowledge, we say. Avidya is, it says, it's not just lack of knowledge, but it is actually misinterpreting reality. That's how it is defined. Avidya is defined. So it is not about lack of knowledge. We all have knowledge, but then we do not truly understand the nature of Brahman. So that is what the root word avidya means, is not understanding reality as it is, right? And then it will tell how you can get that later on. But anyway, it says to you who's difficult to understand because we all have avidya. But when the moment you get that knowledge, you can clearly see what this is. So to that Vishnu, who is all pervading. Vishnu generally means one who is all pervading, who is there everywhere. To that Vishnu, my namaskarams. Janmatho karma nama sphutamiha, guna doshadikam vanayasmin, lokanam utaye yaha, swayam anubhajate tani mayanusari. Janmato karma nama sphutamiha gunadoshadikam vanayasmin lokanam utaye yaha swayam anubhajate tani mayanusari.
जन्माथो कर्म नाम स्फुटमिह गुणदोषादिगं वानयस्मिन् लोकानामोतये यः स्वयमनुभजते तानि मायानुसारी जन्माथो कर्म नाम स्फुटमिह गुणदोषादिगं वानयस्मिन् लोकानामोतये यः स्वयमनुभजते तानि मायानुसारी
जन्मातो कर्म नाम स्फुटमिह
गुणदोषात्मिकं वानयस्मिन्.
Go ahead.
Rajesh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. जन्मातो कर्म नाम स्फुटमिह गुणदोषादिकं वानयस्मिन् लोकानामूतये यः स्वयम् अनुभजते तानि मायानुसारी जन्मातो कर्म नाम स्फुटमिह गुणदोषादिकं वानयस्मिन् लोकानामूतये यः स्वयम् अनुभजते तानि मायानुसारी.
Bhibrat Shaktir Arupo Picha. So you cannot break that too much. Bhibrat Shaktir Arupo Picha. You can break it that Ra if you want. Shaktir Arupo Picha, Bahutara Rupova Bhatyat Bhutatma. Again, that word is also a long word. Rupova Bhatyat Bhutatma, Tasmai Kaivalya Dhamne, Pararasa Paripurnaya Vishnu Namaste. Bhimprachhaktira Rupopi cha Bahutara Rupo Vabhatyat Bhutatma Tasmai Kaivalya Dhamne Pararasa Paripurnaya Vishnu Namaste.
बिभ्रच्छक्तिररूपोऽपि च बहुतररूपो वभात्यद्भुतात्मा तस्मै कैवल्यधाम्ने पररसपरिपूर्णाय विष्णो नमस्ते बिभ्रच्छक्तिररूपोऽपि च बहुतररूपो वभात्यद्भुतात्मा तस्मै कैवल्यधाम्ने पररसपरिपूर्णाय विष्णो नमस्ते
बिभ्रच्छक्तिररूपोऽपि च बहुतररूपो वभात्यद्भुतात्मा तस्मै कैवल्यधाम्ने पररस परिपूर्णाय विष्णु नमस्ते.
Which in the fourth line le Kaivalya Dhamne, adukapram there is a comma. Okay, fourth line.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. बिभ्रच्छक्तिररूपोऽपि च बहुतररूपो वभात्यद्भुतात्मा तस्मै कैवल्यधाम्ने पररसपरिपूर्णाय विष्णो नमस्ते.
Stanza 3. No tiryanchanna martyam na cha suram asuram na striyam no pumamsam na dravyam karma jatim gunamapi sadasat vapite rupamahuhu shishtam yatsyanni shedhe sati nigamashatayir lakshana vrittitastat krichhrena vidhyamanam paramasukhamayam bhati tasmai namaste. Little bit I ended up saying meaning of this in the first stanza, but essentially it says that no tiryanchanna martyam. So you are not, you cannot, I cannot say you are a bird, nor can I say you are an animal. Nacha suram asuram. You are neither a demigod nor are you an asura. Na striyam no pumamsam. So no, you are not a female gender nor are you a male gender. Na dravyam or a karma jatim. Dravyam is any substance. So I cannot even say you are a substance or a type of action like karma jatim. I cannot even say you are like like an attribute of something, right? We cannot even say you are like an attribute of something, karma jatim. And then guna mapi sadasat. I cannot even say you are like type of a guna. I cannot even say what kind of. So we cannot define you in any ways that we can understand. So that's what it is. So by removing everything that we can think, because when anybody asks, right, have you seen God? Have you defined God? So how can we define? I don't even know exactly how some of the AI agents work, right? Like the latest, what I'm saying, but we all may use chat GPT, but we don't know even how that works. How can we define something which is beyond all of that? It's beyond our contemplation, right? So it's impossible to define it. So that's what they're saying is very difficult to understand it and very difficult to define it. So the only way is by taking everything and saying everything I know, it is not that. Because if I, at the moment I know, I'm already liberated and I'm enlightened, right? So that means I'm limited with the limited brains we have. I cannot define it. So it is nothing that we can think of. It's beyond our understanding of it. So whatever is left beyond understanding which exists, which can only come by implying something, right? So you can define everything, then you imply it is not that, right? So with that, that is how we define. So to that you who is always parama sukhamayam, who is always permanently in a state of bliss. That the realizing you gets us also in a state of bliss permanently. To that you, my namaste. No tiryanchanna martyam, comma, nacha suram asuram, comma, na striyam no pumamsam, comma, na dravyam karma jatim, comma again, gunamapi sadasat vapite rupamahuhu. No tiryanchanna martyam na chasuram asuram na striyam no pumamsam na dravyam karma jatim gunamapi sadasat vapite rupamahuhu.
No tiryञ्जं न मर्त्यं न च सुरमसुरं न स्त्रियं नो पुमांसं न द्रव्यं कर्मजातिं गुणमपि सदसद्वापि ते रूपमाहुः नो तिर्यञ्जं न मर्त्यं न च सुरमसुरं न स्त्रियं नो पुमांसं न द्रव्यं कर्मजातिं गुणमपि सदसद्वापि ते रूपमाहुः.
नो तिर्यञ्चं न मर्त्यं न च सुरमसुरं न सित्रयं नो पुमांसं न द्रव्यं कर्म जातिं गुणमपि सदसद्वापि ते रूपमाहुः नो तिर्यञ्चं न मर्त्यं न च सुरमसुरं न चित्रयं नो पुमांसं न द्रव्यं कर्म जातिं गुणमपि सदसद्वापि ते रूपमाहुः.
Vijay, in the first line, last, na striyam no pumamsam.
न न न सित्रयं
ஒரு வேர்டு ந
okay.
ஸ்திரியம் STRAYAM ந
Oh,
ஸ்திரியம்.
so I have it as Citrayam. Okay. Citrayam.
ஸ்திரியம் STRI ஸ்திரி.
Okay. Citrayam.
शिष्टम यत् स्यान्निषेधे सति कॉमा निगम शतैर लक्षणावृत्तितस् तत् कॉमा कृच्छ्रेणा वेद्यमानं कॉमा Parama Sukhamayam Bhati Tasmai Namaste. So Nigama refers to the Vedas or the Upanishad. Shatair is 100. So the hundreds of Vedas, Upanishads which are there also cannot exactly define you. It can only define you through implied variance, saying, you don't have this, you may have this attribute, something like that. It cannot exactly put boundaries around your definition around the Brahman. Shishtam yatsya sati nigamashatairlakshanavrittitastat krichrena vidyamanam paramasukhamayam bhati tasmai namaste.
शिष्टं यत्स्यानिषेधे सति निगमशतैर्लक्षणावृत्तितस्तत् कृच्छ्रेणावेद्यमानं परमसुखमयं भाति तस्मै नमस्ते. शिष्टं यत्स्यानिषेधे सति निगमशतैर्लक्षणावृत्तितस्तत् कृच्छ्रेणावेद्यमानं परमसुखमयं भाति तस्मै नमस्ते.
शिष्टं यत्स्यानिषेधे सति निगमशतैर्लक्षणावृत्तितस्तते कृच्छ्रेणावेद्यमानं परमसुखमयं भाति तस्मै नमस्ते. शिष्टं यत्स्यानिषेधे सति निगमशतैर्लक्षणावृत्तितस्तते कृच्छ्रेणावेद्यमानं परमसुखमयं भाति तस्मै नमस्ते.
That's a 4. Mayayam bimbitastvam srijasi mahadahankara tanmatrabhedaihi bhutagramhendriyadhyairapi sakala jagat swapna sankalpa kalpam bhuya samhritya sarvam kamatha iva padhan yatmana kala shaktya gambhire jayamane tamasi vitimiro bhasi tasmai namaste. Couple of things here. Like if you long time back, we spoke about that Mahat Ahankara, all of that in the creation of the Brahmanda, the Tanmatram, the Panchabhutas, all of the senses. It says all of that, everything that exists, right, in this Brahmandam comes from you. There's nothing else it can come from. It has to always come from something, and it has to be that one source which is always constant. It all comes from you. And now it talks a little bit about everything that we experience is also because of you. So, for example, the comparison they give is when you're having a dream, right? When you have a dream, the dream looks absolutely real. You're experiencing it, right? Now, when you wake up, the dream is gone. But the dream is there only because you are there to dream about it, right? The dream can only exist if the dreamer is there. If I am not dreaming, then there's no dream that can exist, right? It only depends on the dreamer. So similarly, it says this whole world, is actually you, but you take various forms. Like we said, you are there in every paramanu. So when you see a blade of grass, we are seeing a blade of grass that is there. We are seeing a tree that is there. I am seeing a laptop in front of me. That is because I still don't have the knowledge. If I had the knowledge, I will be able to see you in everything, right? So because you are always there, it's because I'm still in the dreaming state, because of which I'm not understanding all of this stuff, right? Because and all of this is you, right? I just don't see. I just see various forms, various shapes. All of us see that. So that's how it says. So that's like that, because we are still not ready to understand that. And very similar to a tortoise, kamatha iva padan. A tortoise, it puts its feet out. Then when it has to protect itself, it can naturally pull its feet back. It's instinctive. It doesn't have to do anything. It just naturally pulls it back. Similarly, the whole world, the Brahmandam, comes out of you and goes back into, like we saw the example of the spider spinning the web in Dasakam 93, right? The spider spins the entire web, and then when it wants, it can pull the entire web inside. Similarly, the whole cosmos, everything is created from you, and finally it all goes back into you in a natural way. There's no effort that is actually needed from you, and you who's always there at all time, to that you my namaskarams. Mayayam bimbitastvam, srijasi mahada hankara tanmatra bhedaihi visarga, next line on the bhuta, if you have a ir that goes away, bhuta gramendriyadhyairapi, bhuta gramendriyadhyairapi, sakala jagat swapna sankalpa kalpam. Mahyayam bimbitastvam srijasi mahadahankara tanmatra bhedaihi bhuta gramendriyadhyairapi sakala jagat swapna sankalpa kalpam.
मायायां बिम्बितस्त्वं सृजसि महदहङ्कारतन्मात्रभेदैः भूतग्रामेन्द्रियाद्यैरपि सकलजगत्स्वप्नसङ्कल्पकल्पं मायायां बिम्बितस्त्वं सृजसि महदहङ्कारतन्मात्रभेदैः भूतग्रामेन्द्रियाद्यैरपि सकलजगत्स्वप्नसङ्कल्पकल्पम्
मायायां बिम्बितस्त्वं सृजसि महदहङ्कारतन्मात्रभेदैः भूतग्रामेन्द्रियाद्यैरपि सकलजगत्स्वप्नसङ्कल्पकल्पं मायायां बिम्बितस्त्वं सृजसि महदहङ्कारतन्मात्रभेदैः भूतग्रामेन्द्रियाद्यैरपि सकलजगत्स्वप्नसङ्कल्पकल्पम्
Bhuyah, put a is, bhuyas samhritya sarvam, comma, kamatha iva padanyatmana kala shaktya, comma, gambire jayamane tamasi vitimiro, comma, bhasi tasmai namaste. So that's why, so eventually, even when everything goes away, when all this whole worlds, everything gets absorbed into you, then there is utter darkness. There's just nothing there. But you are still there. Even at that time, you are still shining because, like we said, you are self-effulgent. You are not reliant on the universe to exist for you to be existing. You are existing independent of all of that. Bhuyas samhritya sarvam kamatha iva padhanyatmana kala shaktya gambhire jayamane tamasi vitimiro bhasi tasmai namaste.
भूयः संहृत्य सर्वं कमठ इव पदान्यात्मना कालशक्त्या गम्भीरे जायमाने तमसि विधिमिरो भासि तस्मै नमस्ते भूयः संहृत्य सर्वं कमठ इव पदान्यात्मना कालशक्त्या गम्भीरे जायमाने तमसि विधिमिरो भासि तस्मै नमस्ते
भूयः संहृत्य सर्वं कमत इवन् पदान् यात्मना कालशक्त्या गम्भीरे जायमाने तमसि वितिमिरो भासि तस्मै नमस्ते
And the bhuyah is it will take a is sound. Bhuyas samhritya.
भूयः संहृत्य सर्वं कमत इव पदान् यात्मना कालशक्त्या गम्भीरे जायमाने तमसि वितिमिरो भासि तस्मै नमस्ते Rajesh, the first one bhuyas sanhritya.
Yeah, correct. And the visarga bhuyaha that you have, right? That will take a is sound. So bhuyas and then samhritya.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Rajesh, I have a question. This is
Yeah.
Lakshmi. So when everything disappears, it's hard for me to imagine, is there space or there's no space? How do you know everything it's hard for me to abstractly understand this.
So I don't know either, right? I mean, difficult to visualize. I mean, like when we say difficult, when nothing is there, how do you visualize nothing is there, right? So like you said, is anything that's even the space, whatever the atoms are in the space, also has Bhagavan in it. First of all, you have to understand that, right? So you have to, like, the best way to understand it is he's all pervading, which is literally going to come in the next stanza, which is even the subatomic particle that is there has some energy in it, right? At the end of the day, it's got some energy because even the subatomic particle is vibrating. That energy is that God, right? Bhagavan, that energy is vibrating even in the sub. So even when nothing is there, when the concept of nothing, which nobody will get to see, even Brahma will not get to see what is nothingness, because the moment Brahma comes, he's seeing himself, right? He's already existing, right? So nobody knows what that nothingness looks like. because nobody is there at that point, right? So there is a point when absolutely nothing is there, and then things start coming. And the things here doesn't mean even physical things, right? It even means the concept of that Maha, the consciousness is just sitting in itself. No, nothing else is there. Literally nothing else is there. Even the concept of nothingness, you can't even define that, right? So I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it, but it literally is everything is gone, and then everything can come back, right? Um, so that is like, the best example is like when in Chicago, when everything is frozen, you look outside, right? We don't see any leaves, we don't see any fruits, we don't see anything. It's completely frozen, but we can't say it is not there because it is all still there. The tree is still there, right? And then you plant a seed, the perennials, and you plant it, and then eventually spring, everything comes back up. So the seed was always there. So that seed is that Brahman, right? That one which is always there permanently, but the tree was not there for us to see, which will come later. So that's the best way to come say it. But
Can I say something,
yeah,
Rajeshri?
go ahead. Yeah.
Space is part of the five elements. So five elements came after, like, they're created. So there's probably no space either.
So that's why I'm saying how do you imagine not having space?
That's
Right?
That's
Yeah.
what.
That's one of the question, right? How do you imagine that
Nothing.
there's no space,
What is
right?
nothing?
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, but think of it this way. The space, sound can go through space, right? Sound can vibrate through space. But before, when that non-existence thing is there, nothing can pervade through space also, right? Because there was no, even the concept of ability to have the sound vibration came first. So that's the sound was vibration is what came first. So even that was not there. So it's very difficult to imagine or infer what that is, right? Or visualize it. So
No, it's just like my Bhagavad Gita guru says, if it's a pitch dark, it's a power failure in our own house, right? We know, like in my house, I know there's a couch, there's a TV. But if it's pitch dark, I assume it is there, but I can't see anything. For me, there's nothing, but I believe it is there because I've seen it when there was power. But if it's your house where I've never been in my life, right? So I don't even know whether you have that or not. So I can't even assume there would be a couch, there would be a TV. I can't even assume that. So it's like there's nothing there. There's nothing. That's what I think because I can't even imagine because I've never seen anything in your house before. So like that,
and
that's how we can like understand. Yeah.
correct. Adhe mari, there's going to be one stanza that's going to come later. So see if that helps you understand it. I don't want to jump to the meaning of it yet, but it is very similar, to the example that you gave of the light and the darkness, and one stanza is going to come. So let's see if that helps answer it.
ஜி இது இப்படி
As well.
சொல்றா இல்லையா ஜி, நம்ம ஆத்மா போனதுக்கு அப்புறமா பட் நம்ம ஆத்மா could see that everything but வந்து like the ஆத்மா only can see that but we cannot like அந்த மாதிரி சொல்றா இல்லையா கர்ப்பபுராணத்துல, அப்படி புரிஞ்சுக்கலாமா நம்ம?
இல்ல பட் அவ லக்ஷ்மி கேக்குறது வந்து எல்லாமே
இட்ஸ் எக்ஸிஸ்ட்,
எல்லாமே
எவ்ரிதிங் இஸ் எக்ஸிஸ்ட், பட் நாம வந்து தனியா இருப்போம்.
இல்ல எல்லாமே ஐக்கியமானக்கு அப்புறம் when there is nothingness, she's saying what is that nothingness like? How do you define that ஒண்ணுமே இல்ல அப்படிங்கறத?
ஒண்ணுமே இல்ல. ஓகே.
Okay, anyway, just wait till couple more stanzas, see if that helps. Okay, we'll switch here. Shubha, Hari, you can be a student, and Harini, you can be a student. शब्द ब्रह्मेति कर्मेत्यनुरिति भगवन् काल इत्यालपन्ति त्वामेकं विश्वहेतुं सकलमयतया सर्वथा कल्प्यमानं वेदान्तैर्यत्तु गीतं पुरुष परचिदात्माभिदं तत्तु तत्त्वं प्रेक्षा मात्रेण मूल प्रकृति विकृतिकृत् कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते. Says different beings, different people or different things call you different things. So, for example, you are sometimes referred to as Om, right? Some people say that Om is that Brahman, right? Some people say the subatomic particle, like I was just telling, right? The energy in the subatomic, the smallest of particle, the energy which is there in that is that Brahman. So these are all different people define you in different angles. So in Vedas, they say you are Purusha. You are the supreme being. You are the pure consciousness. Some people say you are the spirit or the atma that exists in everybody. So everybody says different things, right? But at the end of the day, one thing that is common is you are everything, right? That doesn't change, right? And we saw in Dasakam 96, when we were seeing the glories of the Lord, it says Aksharana Makaraha. We said you are A in the Akshara, you are Manu amongst the king. But then it says Nastyantas Tvad Vibhutehe Vikasat Atishayam Vastu Sarvam Twameva. It said in 96. He says, I cannot say you're only this, you are not that, because you are everything, right? So net is there's nothing that is not you, right? And that's again, it's just continuing to say that. So people may call it different things, but at the end of the day, you are everything. But here it says Krishna Tasmai Namaste. So to that you, Brahman, who is in the form of Krishna, my namaskarams to you. Shabda Brahmeti Karmetyanuriti Bhagavan, Kala Ityalapanti, Twamekam Vishwahetum, Sakala Mayataya Sarvata Kalpyamanam. Shabda Brahmeti Karmetyanuriti Bhagavan Kala Ityalapanti Twamekam Vishwahetum Sakala Mayataya Sarvata Kalpyamanam.
शब्दब्रह्मेति कर्मेत्यनुरिति भगवन् काल इत्यालपन्ति त्वामेकं विश्वहेतुं सकलमयतया सर्वथा कल्प्यमानं शब्दब्रह्मेति कर्मेत्यनुरिति भगवन् काल इत्यालपन्ति त्वामेकं विश्वहेतुं सकलमयतया सर्वथा कल्प्यमानम्.
शब्दब्रह्मेति कर्मेत्यनुरिति भगवन् काल इत्यालपन्ति त्वामेकं विश्वहेतुं सकलमयतया सर्वथा कल्प्यमानं शब्दब्रह्मेति कर्मेत्यनुरिति भगवन् काल इत्यालपन्ति त्वामेकं विश्वहेतुं सकलमयतया सर्वथा कल्प्यमानम्
Vedantai Yattu Geetam, Purusha Parachidatmabhidam. One word. Parachidatmabhidam Tattu Tattvam, Preksha Matrena Moola Prakriti Vikriti Kriti, Krishna Tasmai Namaste. Prakriti, like we said, the Prakriti in the concept of Sankhya is Prakriti is from which all these material things comes. So that from which everything comes, Moola Prakriti. Vikriti is that in which everything actually ends, right? So in Lalita Sahasranamam, it says Prakriti, Vikriti, right? Both. So it says that's why both of it again, the Brahman, you are both, right? From which things can come and into which things actually eventually end up in. Vedantairyattu Gheetam Purusha Parachidatmabhidam Tattu Tattvam Preksha Matrena Moola Prakriti Vikriti Krit Krishna Tasmai Namaste.
वेदान्तैर्यत्तु गीतं पुरुषपरचिदात्माभिदं तत्तु तत्त्वं प्रेक्षामात्रेण मूला प्रकृतिविकृतिकृत कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते वेदान्तैर्यत्तु गीतं पुरुषपरचिदात्माभिदं तत्तु तत्त्वं प्रेक्षामात्रेण मूला प्रकृतिविकृतिकृत कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते
वेदान्तैर्यत्तु गीतं पुरुषपरचिदात्माभिधं तत्तु तत्त्वं प्रेक्षामात्रेण मूलप्रकृतिविकृतिकृत कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते वेदान्तैर्यत्तु गीतं पुरुषपरचिदात्माभिधं तत्तु तत्त्वं प्रेक्षामात्रेण मूलप्रकृतिविकृतिकृत कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते.
Answer 6. Satvena Sattaya Va Nacha Khalu Sada Satvena Nirvachya Rupa Dhatte yasava vidya gunapani mativat vishwadrishyabhasam vidyatvam saiva yata shruti vachana labaihi yat kripasyanadhalabhe samsararanya sadhyastrutana parashutameti tasmai namaste. Little bit, talks about continuing, right? How to understand Brahman. He explains the concept of avidya, like we spoke earlier, right? Which is not necessarily lack of knowledge, but it's the ignorance. Now he says the word avidya or lack ignorance. You cannot say it exists. You cannot say it doesn't exist. Because if you say it exists, you need to have some knowledge to say that I don't have the knowledge of that, right? So you cannot say I don't have it either. And then it says you cannot say it is not there, because with information that can be filled. So your ignorance can be replaced with knowledge once you get more information. So he says that is important to understand Brahman. The way to understand Brahman, one example they give it is, you see, like Minu was telling, in the darkness, you're walking on the road, you see a rope lying on the street. It looks like a snake. Now, because there's no light, you see something lying on the floor, you think it is a snake, right? So that causes fear for you. You react to it because you are afraid of it. It creates confusion because you think it is a snake. Somebody shines a light, you see it is not a snake, but it is a rope. But the rope was always there. You just did not know it is not a rope. You thought it was a snake, right? So that is how he says Brahman is understanding of the Brahman is, you cannot say I have it, I don't know. It is always there. You just think of it as something different. You think of all the things you see as something which is different. But the moment the light comes, the moment the knowledge comes, you start seeing everything that exists as Brahman. Just like how you thought that snake was there, but it is actually not a snake, it was a rope, but the rope was always there. Similarly, it says the Brahman is there in every single thing and every single being. We don't see it that way. We see everything as a snake. The moment that knowledge comes, that snake goes away and the rope shows up. Similarly, all of you and all of these things will go away and we'll start seeing Brahman in everything. So he says that knowledge needs to come to be able to see it, right? The Brahman is always there. So he says that knowledge of Krishna, give me that knowledge, because until that knowledge I don't have, samsara aranya, the forest of samsara, I'm getting stuck in it because I'm seeing everything and everybody as different. So you got to give me that knowledge so I can cut through that forest of ignorance that I have, that forest of either avidya that I have. I need to be able to cut through it so that I can understand and start seeing you in everything else. Satvena sattayava, comma, nacha khalu sadasattvena. So it's a double it there. Sadasattvena nirvachya rupa dhatte yasava vidya, comma, guna phani mati vat vishwa drishyabhasam. Satvena sattayava nacha khalu sadasattvena nirvachya rupa dhatte yasava vidya gunaphani mativat vishwadrishyabhasam.
तत्त्वेन सत्तया वा न च खलु सदसत्त्वेन निर्वाच्य रूपा धत्ते या सावविद्या गुणपणिमतिवद् विश्वदृश्यावभाषम् सत्त्वेन सत्तया वा न च खलु सदसत्त्वेन निर्वाच्य रूपा धत्ते या सावविद्या गुणपणिमतिवद् विश्वदृश्यावभाषम्.
सत्त्वेना सत्तया वा न च खलु सदसत्त्वेन निर्वाच्य रूपा दत्ते या सावविद्या गुणफणिमतिवद्विश्वदृश्यावभासम् सत्त्वेना सत्तया वा न च खलु सदसत्त्वेन निर्वाच्य रूपा धत्ते या सावविद्या गुणफणिमतिवद्विश्वदृश्यावभासम्.
Vidhyatvam saiva yata shruti vachana labaihi. Put a visarga comma. Then on top of the ya, there is a ir that goes away. Yat kripa syandalabhe, comma, samsararanya sadyas trutana parashutamiti tasmai namaste. Parashu is the axe. So the samsara, forest of samsara in which I'm living with illusion, you with this knowledge, the acts of knowledge, you just cut through that forest which is there. So we keep saying illusion, illusion, right? I think this is the exact example of when we say everything is an illusion, right? People say this is the exact example of that, right? It's like the snake, that the rope and the snake is the exact example. You cannot say the rope is not there. The rope is always there, but it appears like a snake to us. Similarly, when people say this is all an illusion, doesn't mean you don't exist, doesn't mean this laptop doesn't exist. You exist, the laptop exists, but I don't realize that it is the Brahman in all of these things. That is the illusion. I still think of you as different from me. I still think of this laptop as different from me, right? But the Brahman, but is actually all the same. That is the illusion we live. That doesn't mean that people don't exist and the things don't exist, right? Things do exist. We see it, we can touch it, we can feel it, right? But we think of them as different. So that is the definition of illusion. That's why the snake and the rope example is the perfect one of light coming and revealing, but the rope was always there.
Can I add something here?
Yeah.
Recently, I was listening to something, and they were telling even the experiences we get. Like, we are branding certain people as bad, you know. We, now it is more educating. I mean, people are educating others, like, to keep away from toxic people. That is and all. But the inference of that in a different way, what I heard was, I took it with a pinch of salt, but still, that made me think a lot. That even the experiences that you get, like people you treating you badly, or giving you bad experiences or good experiences, whatever it may be, talking good about you, talking bad about you, you getting hurt and other things, is all part of karma only.
Yeah.
You are destined to get it. So the thing is, it is not that you keep away from such people. You keep away from getting affected by such people. Going away from such people, you will end up in somewhere where other people also will treat you the same way. So
100%. I mean, it's a completely different topic. 100% what you said is accurate, right? We always feel sorry for ourselves. Why is this happening to me? We should not feel sorry. It's what we sowed seed somewhere to reap that, this janmam, right? So whatever
what
is
you
happening,
can make is create means develop your. It is something that is coming to teach you to be. Resist means you should not take it into you. And react. Instead, you should learn why this is happening to me, and correct yourself, or be able to protect yourself from such things. So
correct, 100%. Yeah, you cannot. If you escape, it's going to come back to you again till you learn the lesson, right? So exactly. Vidhyatvam saiva yatha. Sorry, I don't know if we did that. I'm just only. Yeah. Have we finished 6, right?
We didn't recite that, the second half.
Okay. Vidhyatvam saiva yata shruti vachana lavaihi yat krupasyandalavhe samsararanya sadhyastrutana parashutameti tasmai namaste.
So there is no comma on the last line, right?
Last line is continuous.
विद्यात्वं सैव याता श्रुतिवचनलवैः यत् कृपास्यन्दलाभे संसारण्यः सद्यस्तृतनपरश्रुतामेति तस्मै नमस्ते.
Shubha, on the 4th line, first word, samsararanya.
Okay, samsararanya. विद्यात्वं सैव याता श्रुतिवचनलवैः यत्कृपास्यन्दलाभे संसारारण्यसद्यस्तृतनपरश्रुतामेति तस्मै नमस्ते.
विद्यात्वं सैव याता श्रुतिवचनलवैः यत्कृपास्यन्दलाभे संसारारण्यसद्यस्तृटनपरश्रुतामेति तस्मै नमस्ते. विद्यात्वं सैव याता श्रुतिवचनलवैः यत्कृपास्यन्दलाभे संसारारण्यस्य सद्यस्तृटनपरशुतामेति तस्मै नमस्ते.
Answer 7. Bhusha suswarnavadhva jagati ghatasharavadike mrittikavate tatve sancintyamane spurati tadadunapyadvitiyam vapuste swapnatrashtu prabhude timiralaya vidau jirna rajjoscha yadvate vidyalabhe tathaiva sputamapi vikaset prishna tasmai namaste. Like, we don't have to struggle to learn all fully. Don't worry about, even any for any of us, right? We will never be able to understand the full truth. It is just extremely hard, but that's why they give all these examples, because we can understand examples and we can maybe try to correlate, right? So here the example is giving is, for example, when you go to a jewelry shop, you go to Kalyan Jewelers, you see all these different types of jewelry that is there. Each one is priced differently, right? There's making charges, there's different shapes, different forms, right? For somebody who's looking at it, we pay that extra price because it has got, the earring has got extra carving, the jewelry has got a particular design. We give all those extra prices, but we all know at the end of the day, you melt it, you get the same gold, right? We know at the end of the day, it is just gold behind all of those things. It just has different shapes and forms. Similarly, the pottery, that's the second example. You see all these different pottery which is there, but at the end of the day, you break it all and then you add water. It is the same clay that is actually there, right? Now, when somebody looks at it, they don't look at it that way. They all look at each of these things as different, right? That is exactly what he says. Is the and very other example is when, like what we saw in that 25 gurus also, is when the sun is shining. When the sun shines on water, it looks different. When it shines on your mirror, it looks different. When it falls on the tree, you can start seeing the tree, but at the end of the day, it's the same sunlight. That is always the same. It just looks different, right? Similarly, he says, when we see different types of people, when we see, Indian, when we see Christian or Hindu, Christian, Muslim, or American or African, different people, different shapes, different forms we see. We are just seeing different forms. We have just not come to the realization that it is the same Brahman which is inside of every single person and every single thing. That is the illusion we live around, right? So finally, when that light shines, and we can see that the snake is not a snake, it is a rope, because that knowledge has come. If and when we get that knowledge, then we'll start seeing that all of these things is the same Brahman. There's no difference. It's just taking different forms and taking different shapes, right? So that's pretty much what the takeaway on both of these stanzas is. To that you who's in the form of Krishna, Tasmai Namaste. Bhushasu Swarna Vadva, Jagati Ghata Sharavadike Mrittikavat. Put it at the end of that line, Mrittikavat. Next line, if you have an extra it that goes away. Tatve Sancintyamane, Spurati Thadadhunapyadvitiyam. So you cannot break it too much, but the word Advitiyam, so the consciousness of the Advaita, the feeling of two will go away. It is just one, right? Tadadhunapyadvitiyam vapuste. Bhushaso swarnavadva jagati ghatashara vadike mrittikavate tatve sancintyamane spurati tadadunapyadvitiyam vapuste.
भूषासु स्वर्णवद्वा जगति घटरशावादिके मृत्तिकावत् तत्त्वे सञ्चिन्त्यमाने स्फुरति तदधुनाप्यद्वितीयं वपुष्टे.
On the first line, sorry, Shubha. Ghata Sharavadike.
Okay. भूषासु कर्ण स्वर्णवद्वा जगति घटशरावादिके मृत्तिकावत् तत्त्वे सञ्चिन्त्यमाने स्फुरति तदधुनाप्यद्वितीयं वपुस्ते.
भूषासु स्वर्णवद्वा जगति घटशरावादिके मृत्तिकावत् तत्त्वे सञ्चिन्त्यमाने स्फुरति तदधुनाप्यद्वितीयं त्वपुस्ते भूषासु स्वर्णवद्वा जगति घटशरावादिके मृत्तिकावत् तत्त्वे सञ्चिन्त्यमाने स्फुरति तदधुनास्त्वद्वितीयं वपुस्ते.
Sorry, and the last word, honey. Spurati tadadhunapyadvitiyam.
स्फुरति तदधुनात्वद्वितीयं वपुस्ते.
You're saying a twa there. It's a ya sound. Spurati tadadhunapyadvitiyam.
स्फुरति तदधुनाप्यद्वितीयं वपुस्ते.
Correct, yeah. For those who know Sanskrit, it's tat adhunapi advitiyam. So when the P and A becomes the pya sound there, tadadhunapya dvitiyam.
Thank you.
Rajesh ji, it's not like நேத்திக்கு one thing happened. நேத்திக்கு weight loss போயிருந்தேன். Around like closing time around 8:55 போல. போயிட்டு நான் வெளில வரப்ப நான் ஒரு ஆப்பிரிக்கன் லேடி, ஓகே, ஐ திங்க் அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் எனக்கு புரிஞ்சுது கொஞ்சம் சித்தி புத்தி சுவாதீனம் இல்லைன்னு சொல்லிட்டு. நான் வரப்ப என் பக்கத்துல வந்துட்டு கொஞ்சம் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் நாட் எல்லிங் பட் சம்திங் ஷி வாண்டட், பட் எனக்கு அதுக்குள்ள படபடன்னு ஆயிடுது. பட் காருக்குள்ள வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் ரியலைஸ் பண்ணேன், சி இன்னர் ஆல்சோ கிருஷ்ணா இஸ் தேர். வை ஷுட் ஐ லைக் நான் ஏன் என்னை ப்ரொடெக்ட் பண்ணிக்கணும், அவ ஏதாவது பண்ணிடுவாளோ, என்கிட்ட வந்து ஏதாவது பண்ணிடுவாளோன்னு. பட் அந்த அந்த ஷேக்கினஸ்லாம் இருந்தது. பட் சீட்டுக்குள்ள உட்காந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் ஐ வாஸ் திங்கிங் இன்னர் ஆல்சோ கிருஷ்ணா இஸ் தேர், தென் வை டு ஹேவ் டு லைக் கெட் கேர் அபவுட் ஹர் என்ன. அதுக்கப்புறம் இவர் சொன்ன அதெல்லாம் இருக்கார், பட் சுச்சுவேஷன் தான் ஒன்று இருக்கு இல்லையா, பட் அதை பார்க்கணும் இல்லையா. அப்போ அந்த இடத்துல கிருஷ்ணா தான் இருக்கா அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு நீ அவகிட்ட அங்கே நீ போய் ஒன்றும் பண்ண போறது இல்லை. பட் எதாவது நடத்துனாக்கா அந்த இடத்துல அப்பதான் யோசிக்கணும், அதுக்கு தான் புத்தி கொடுத்துருக்காரு. பட் எல்லாருமே கிருஷ்ணா தான். அதனால அதுல எனக்கு ரொம்ப எக்கச்சக்கமா டவுட் வருது ஜி. எப்படி
No. Like I said in one of the class, right? Like if you let's say you are fear of snakes, அங்க ஒரு cobra வந்துட்டு இருக்கு. If a cobra is coming, you cannot go and say, I see Krishna in that cobra, I'm going to go pet that cobra, right? You can't do that, right? That's why your intellect has to kick in a little bit to say that I need to know what is danger, but that doesn't mean you have to go pet the cobra. But the point is,
எனக்கு என்ன ஃபீல் ஆகுதுன்னா, did I hurt her? See, இன்னர் ஆத்மா கிருஷ்ணா இஸ் ஆல்சோ தேர். ஸோ அப்போ அவளுக்கும் அந்த ஒரு இது இருந்திருக்கும் இல்லையா, அப்போ அவச்சா என்ன இதுக்கு நம்மளை வந்து இப்படி பண்றா அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு தாட் அவளுக்கும் வந்திருக்கும் இல்லையா. ஸோ தட் தாட் வில் அஃபெக்ட், ரைட்?
The thought will affect you also, because that's
எனக்கு ரொம்ப அந்த இடத்துல ரெண்டு பேரும் ஒன்று. பட் அந்த தாட்டுங்கிறது தானே நம்மளை வந்து லைக் பண்ண தோடுறது அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஐ வாஸ் திங்கிங்.
இல்ல தாட் வேற, அது ரெண்டு இருக்கு. One is the thought that comes, then is the intellect. You have to discriminate the thought, okay? So every thought you have is creating a imprint of karma, right? So I'm just giving as an example. If you think somebody is good, you think somebody is bad, that is a karma that you are instantly created. That thought has created a karma of you thinking somebody is bad, right? So which means you have to come to that realization, and you have to have some rebound or a boomerang mari. It has to come for you to realize I should not do this. அதுக்கு ஒரு எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ்க்கு நீங்க வந்து ஒரு பர்த் எடுத்தானோ, எதர் இந்த ஜென்மமோ அடுத்த ஜென்மமோ ஏதாவது ஒரு இதுல you will have to feel that, because every impression, every thought creates it, right? But then exactly like you did, the intellect has to come in and say, I should not think about that, which is what you did sitting in the car, right? So that is where your intellect has to come in and say that is not right, right? Because she does not know. In that case I'm saying, in this specific case I'm saying, nobody has hurt you, then you don't have to know, you don't have to worry about it. But without anybody hurting, nammale vandu oh that is bad, this is good nu nenacha, those are all karmic impressions we are creating, you know. That's why we all have a lot of births left. So
ராஜேஷ் ஜி, இங்கே வந்து எவ்ரிதிங் லுக்ஸ் ஆஸ் அத்வைத்தம் அப்படின்னு, why is there a special mention of அத்வைத்தம் here? I know what he means, like Jeevan and Brahma are same அப்படின்னு we just think that's அத்வைத்தம் அப்படின்னு. But why is he like mentioning அத்வைத்தம் here?
Because inge and the example was to say that you see different golds as different, you see that as different from the gold itself, the ornaments as different, from the gold itself.
Advaitamalla.
Advitiyam.
Advitiyam is double.
No,
It is
Advitiyam,
two
not
different.
two. It's one.
Advitiyam garde, it is telling that those are not two different
That's what I'm
things.
saying. It is not two, it is one. So just like how we are saying the ornaments which are there and the gold are all just gold. Right. Similarly, it says all the things that you are seeing, which looks like two. I'm seeing you. I'm seeing somebody Jyoti. But they are not two. It is all, it's not advitiyam. They are not two. It's not advaitam. Advaitam is a philosophy of oneness. But this is saying it isn't, but it's kind of, it's advaitam related to advitiyam. Dvitiyam is like a rendu kadayadu, it is one.
Yeah, duality illai. It is one.
So it is not two, it is one. Similarly, it says all these different beings and everybody look as two different beings from you, but they are actually all one. That's the Brahman, right? That's what it's saying. Sorry, Enga Vittam. Did we
The
do
seventh stanza, the second part of it.
Okay. Swapna drashtuhu, put a F, drashtuf prabhode, comma, timira laya vidhau, jirna rajoscha yadvat. So put a it at the end of that line, yadvat. Next line, if we have a dvi, that becomes a vi. Vidyalabe tathaiva, comma, sphutamapi vikaset Krishna tasmai namaste. Swapnadrashtuh prabhode timiralaya vidhau jirna rajoscha yadvat vidyalabhe tathaiva sputamapi vikaset Krishna tasmai namaste.
स्वप्नद्रष्टुः प्रबोधे तिमिरलयविधौ जीर्णरज्जोश्च यद्वत् विद्यालाभे तथैव स्फुटमपि विकसेत् कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते स्वप्नद्रष्टुः प्रबोधे तिमिरलयविधौ जीर्णरज्जोश्च यद्वत् विद्यालाभे तथैव स्फुटमपि विकसेत् कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते
स्वप्नदृष्टुप्रबोधे तिमिरलयविधौ जीर्णरज्जोश्च यद्वत् विद्यालाभे तथैव स्फुटमपि विकसेत् कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते.
Harini, the first word swapna dra sound, drashtuf.
Okay. स्वप्नद्रष्टुः प्रबोधे तिमिरलयविधौ जीर्णरज्जोश्च यद्वत् विद्यालाभे तथैव स्फुटमपि विकसेत् कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते.
Rajesh, Jirna Rajjoshcheva Rajjoshchava.
Rajjoshcha.
Rajjoshcha.
Do one more. Yadbhityo deti suryo dahati cha dahano vati vayustathanhe yadbhita padmajadhyah punaruchita balina harantenu kalam yenaiva ropitah prang nijapadamapite cha vitarascha paschat tasmai vishwam niyantre vayamapi bhavate krishna kurmah pranamam. So you are Vishwam Niyantre. You are the one who's not the word control as in control like we think of it, the one who orchestrates everything, right? He says because everything functions in a particular way only because of you. So for example, yet Dithyo Deti Suryo, the earth is revolving around the sun. The sun then revolves, the entire solar system revolves, and the sun also revolves around the center of the galaxy. So everything is doing things in such a structured, orderly manner, right? So it's not like one day Earth takes X amount of times to spin around its axis. Tomorrow it takes an extra few seconds. Next day it takes a few extra minutes. No, it is everything is always consistent, right? Everything works in a very structured way. And in this, because and it says, even the demigods like Brahma, Padma Jadyaha, even Brahma, who has to do his role, he does his role in a structured way. That's why in Krishna Avataram, Krishna said, you don't have to do any offerings to Indra, because Indra has a role to play. and it is his responsibility to play the role. You don't have to go give offerings to Indra for him to play his role, right? So that way, all the demigods who are actually there, each of them have a role to play, and each of them play their role because that is their responsibility. And because they all, and it says the word bhitya, bhitya refers to fear, but not the fear like in the context of we think of being afraid of somebody, right? It means they are dependent on you. Even for them to do the job, they are dependent on you. So with your guidance, each of them does their job. So with this, you are the one who's the orchestrator of everything, right? Eventually, you are the one who brings everybody out, and all of them do their jobs. When their jobs get over, everybody then goes back to you. So at the end of the day, you are the ultimate boss here, right? So to you, who is the orchestrator of everything, in the form of Krishna, Kurma Pranamam and Namaskarams to you. Yat bhityo deti suryo, comma, dahati cha dahano, so Agni, comma, vati vayus tathanye, so even Vayu, who is responsible for all the air. So all of them do their respective jobs out of, dependent on you, comma. Yat bhitaha, put a F, yat bhitaf padmajadhyaha, comma, punaruchita Balinaharantenu kalam. If you want to break it, you can break it at that na there. Balin aharantenu kalam. Or you can say it together. Yad bhityo deti suryo dahati cha dahano vati vayustathanhe yad bhitah padmajadhyaha punaruchita balinaharantenu kalam.
Rajesh, sorry.
Yeah.
In the first line, there are two pauses, right?
Yeah.
After Suryo and Dahana.
Dahano, yes, yeah. And then the end, yeah.
यद्भीत्योदेति सूर्यो दहति च दहनो भाति वायुस्ततान्ये यद्भीताः पद्मजाद्याः पुनरुचितबलिनाहरन्तेऽनुकालम् यद्भीत्योदेति सूर्यो दहति च दहनो भाति वायुस्ततान्ये यद्भीताः पद्मजाद्याः पुनरुचितबलिनाहरन्तेऽनुकालम्
यद्भीत्योदेति सूर्यो दहति च दहनो वाति वायुस्तथान्ये यद्भीत्याः पद्मजाद्याः पुनरुचितबलिनाहरन्तेऽनुकालम्.
Harini, second line, first word, yet bhitaf.
Yadbitah.
Bhitaf, yeah.
यद्भीत्योदेति सूर्यो दहति च दहनो वाति वायुस्तथान्ये यद्भीताः पद्मजाद्याः पुनरुचितबलिनाहरन्तेऽनुकालम्.
Yenaivaropitaha, comma, prang, ing sound, prang nijapadamapite, comma, cha vitarascha paschat, comma. So again, here were also 3 commas, comma. Tasmai vishwam niyantre, comma, vayamapi bhavate Krishna kurmaha, put a F, kurmah pranamam. Yenaivaropitaha prang nijapadamapite च्या वितारश्च पश्चात् तस्मै विश्वं नियन्त्रे वयमपि भवते कृष्ण कुर्मः प्रणामम्.
येनैवारोपिताः प्राङ्निजपदमपि ते चावितारश्च पश्चात् तस्मै विश्वं नियन्त्रे वयमपि भवते कृष्ण कुर्मः प्रणामम् येनैवारोपिताः प्राङ्निजपदमपि ते चावितारश्च पश्चात् तस्मै विश्वं नियन्त्रे वयमपि भवते कृष्ण कुर्मः प्रणामम्.
येनैवारोपिताः प्राङ्निजपदमपि ते च्यावितारश्च पश्चात् तस्मै विश्वं नियन्त्रे वयमपि भवते कृष्ण कुर्मः प्रणामम्. येनैवारोपिताः प्राङ्निजपदमपि ते च्यावितारश्च पश्चात् तस्मै विश्वं नियन्त्रे वयमपि भवते कृष्ण कुर्मः प्रणामम्.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. And here, Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurushartatmakam brahmatattvam tattavadbhati sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Couple of quick things. அடுத்த Saturday Gita Mandalathla we have the Parayanam. So whoever is able to join, right? We'll do Dashakam 1, 37, 38 Krishna Avataram, then we'll start from 51. Because I think Viji's house we did 1 to 51. So here we're doing from 51. And then Mela we'll have one event in Milwaukee. So that we'll do 1 to 50. So we'll just alternate. That's one announcement. Second one, the plan right now is, so in Nikki we did up to 8. I was going to finish 10, but that's okay. Next class, we'll finish 98. We'll do 99, which is the week of 4-5. And then the week of 4-12, I'm not going to do the 100th. I'm going to start the Narayana Kavacham on 4-12. So we'll do how much ever we can of Narayana Kavacham. And then on 4-18, then we meet in Madhu's house for the last class. We'll finish Narayana Kavacham and then we'll do 100. So I want to keep the 100 for the last class. Okay. So I'm just kind of switching Narayana Kavacham and 100 around. So I'll send you the printout of Narayana Kavacham before the class anyways.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
everyone.
Rajesh.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Rajesh.